So here's a quick video about testing claims about the mean with the TI-84, specifically when you have a list of data. So you don't know the mean and standard deviation, but we'll be putting these numbers into the list and then test the claim. So for people with a 70 or better on chapter reviews, then let me see who that is. So the chapter reviews are right here, and they're actually in order. So I'm looking for everybody that has better than a 70. So that's actually a cutoff right here. So these are the people with 70 or better on the chapter reviews. And then test the claim that their mean overall grade is over 70. So I used this column to find the dividing line, but it's now these numbers that I need to put in the list because the question is really about their overall grade. And I just go to stat and then edit and then type in the numbers. So I already typed them in, but I will take this as a extra moment to double check that I typed the numbers in correctly. So just type those numbers in the list, and then you can also go to stat and calculate the one variable statistics. So that's already list one, so that's good. And then we've got that. So I like to do the sample size first. The sample size is 14. The average is 89.929. And the S is, so use this S right here, 9.442. So the claim is that the mean is going to be over 70. So the claim is that the mean is over 70. And then for H1, it cannot have an equals, and this one does not have an equals, so it stays the same. And then that arrow is pointing to the right, which means that when I draw the distribution, there's only a right tail. And the H sub O always has equals, so it looks like this. Now I need to find this critical value. When you're dealing with the mean, then we're using the t distribution. So I can use the calculator to find that critical value. Just go to second distribution and use the inverse t. And then I'm using 95% level of confidence. The other thing I need to know is degrees of freedom, which is just n minus 1. So 14 minus 1 means degrees of freedom equals 13. So I would then say the area is 0.95, degrees of freedom is 13, and then paste. And it says the critical value equals a 1.771. Now for the last part, go to stat, tests, and then the t-test. And make sure you tell it the data. And this part right here is saying if you're looking at H sub O, what does it equal? So if you look at the H sub O, it equals 70. And then my data is in list 1, so just use that. Frequency, just leave that as 1. And then this is a right tail, so this should be pointing to the right, which it is. So now just go down to calculate. And notice right here, it gives me the mean and standard deviation in n. So I actually didn't have to do that earlier. I could have just done it right now with the t-test. But either way, here it is. Then the last part is this number is the test statistic. So t equals 7.897. And that is bigger than 1.771, which means we actually did prove something. So the claim is that it was going to equal 70, or excuse me, that it was going to be bigger than 70. H sub O said it was going to equal 70. This is not true. That is not even close to 70. So H sub O is false. My claim is that the average was going to be over 70. This is definitely over 70, and this is enough evidence to prove it true in general. So the claim is true. And then one last thing, to use the calculator to make the confidence interval, which we did in chapter 7 and we will do again in chapter 9. You would just go to the stat test and then look for the t interval. So need to go down to number 8 and again use the data because I have the data in the list 1. Use 95%, and then it says basically for those people that get 70 or better on chapter reviews, their overall grade will be somewhere between 84.477 to maybe as high as 95.380. So basically, if people are doing well on the chapter reviews, they should have anywhere from a middle B to a middle A.